Welcome to Joy in Our Town. I'm your host, Kit Evans-Ford, and it's great to have you here with us today. We have some very special guests here, Miss Alicia Carter and also Kirsten Litton, Development Managers with AnotherChild Foundation. Welcome to the show, Alicia and Kirsten.
Thank you.
A pleasure to have you. Today's topic is a very important one, focusing on orphan and disadvantaged children of Romania. So tell us, you two ladies just came back from Romania. So how was your trip? Tell us a little bit about it.
It was great. It was an eye-opener, for sure.
Yeah.
We weren't on a missions trip this time. We went to learn about the school, the staff, all that we do in Romania, to meet the children, and just to see their living conditions. And it was, yes, like I say, it was an eye-opener.
So an eye-opener to see all the children, because you all work with children from 3 years old and up.
Yes, we do. So it's such a wonderful experience. These kids, they're impoverished, but they're so happy. And
they're happy because of the Point of Hope Center that we are partnered with in Romania. And these children, for the first time, have hope. And they're just so joyful to be in a safe place, to be with people that truly love them, teachers and administrators that love each child. And
so dedicated.
Yes. And it's great to see the impact that that school is having in the community and in each individual children's lives.
Yes. So you all were able to see the impact that you all are having on the children in Romania. Absolutely beautiful. Absolutely beautiful. Yes. So tell us a little bit about the work you all do as development managers here in the Quad Cities and the surrounding community.
What we do here in the Quad Cities and surrounding areas is we build partnerships with churches, with different pastors. We build partnerships with individuals and with businesses to help inform them about what we are doing in Romania.
It's the little things that are big things too, that stay with you,
yes.
You know, when you do mission work.
Yes.
I know one thing that we had talked about before was when people go and do mission trips, okay, you're present with people when you're there, but it also helps to change something in your heart, to want to do something when you get back to your own community.
Yes.
So tell us a little bit about how you all encourage people who go on missions trips to take those learnings and be the change in their own community.
Because what you do makes a difference. When you live on purpose that way, it makes a difference.
Yeah.
So when they take this missions trip and they come back home, you're just more aware of your surroundings. So I think it just creates a more purposeful type living.
And to realize that the little problems that we face, like traffic might be slow one day, is nothing compared to wondering, how am I going to feed my family? And we got to build relationships with these children, and right now we each sponsor a child, and we got to meet those children. We got to see where they live. We got to hold them and hug them and tell them, we love you. Jesus loves you. We're praying for you. And it was completely different than reading about them, and it's great to get updates. But we got to hug them, and we got to play games with them and sing songs with them.
See where they live.
Yes.
What life is like for them every day, from day to day.
And we can get back here and show our own children, you might have these little problems here, honey, but look at what these children how they have to live and the things that they have to face day to day. And to just live a life that's more realistic based on the things that other children have to deal with compared to what our American lives, the simple problems that we have.
Yeah, it sounds like it did something to change, or it does something, serving in missions does something to change the heart.
Yes, it does.
Yeah. Now, how are orphans birthed from big families becoming child soldiers in Romania, or how has that been an issue in Romania?
Well, Romania was under communistic rule, so the leader that they had, he encouraged big families that they knew that they couldn't support.
They outlawed birth control so that the parents would have large families, and the government knew that they would not be able to take care of them. So they knew that those children would most likely be abandoned. And they would step in and use those children to their advantage to train them as soldiers, so they could build up their army.
And it wasn't directly said then, but now as time has passed, they realize that that's what he was doing.
Those were his intentions.
Wow, so it's important before even going on a mission trip to really do your research on the country, on government, as far as oppression, because these things impact families.
Yes.
And so the children who were orphaned under the soldiers in that within Romania, those are the parents of the children that are in your orphanage now.
Yes.
Right? So that has impacted even the children that you serve to date.
Yes.
Yeah.
And so they are still, yes, trying to grow out of that. Well, they don't even realize that they are in that cycle still. So now working with these young children, we're raising up a new generation so that they can change things for their families.
Yes, and educating them so they know why to change things for their families.
Yes, because education is such a powerful, powerful thing to be able to change.
Yeah, education is huge.
It's hard to change if you don't have that. Yeah, you don't realize even that they are in that. So it's even just bringing awareness to them as to where they're at, to know you can go from here to here, instead of thinking this is just how life is for us.
Yeah. So AnotherChild Foundation is helping to break that cycle.
Yes, it is.
Yes.
Yes, it is.
Yeah, because it really was a cycle of oppression
Yes.
for the children and the families.
A large one, yeah.
So education is huge. So are there different types of orphans?
Yes, there are two types of orphans. The first type is an orphan who has no parents, who has lost their parents. The other type is a social orphan who has been abandoned by their parents for whatever reason. And so they have memories of their family. They know that they were abandoned by their parents, and they have that constant feeling of why? Why was I abandoned? Where are they?
Being unwanted.
So, yes, so they have those feelings of rejection.
Yeah. Now tell us, you all have been doing this work for some time now, and heard many testimonials, I'm sure. Tell us a success story that you think about when you think about AnotherChild Foundation. One that stays with you, or even a child that you met when you were in Romania that stays with you.
I think that one of the big things that while we were there, a success story, is even with the little ones, the age group that we work with, when we went out into the communities, the children that we work with, you could see such a huge difference in the ones that were able to help as compared to the ones that are in their communities. They have so much more pride in themselves. They're cleaner, and also they have access to being, but they want to do it themselves. They do their hair more so. They are just more confident, and you can see them in these communities, how they're kind of the leaders.
And their attitudes are more joyful.
Very, and they are. The other kids, you can see how they look up to them, will follow them around, and so I'm sure that they are teaching these kids that are also around them a difference instead of just what they don't get out of their community. So they're actually making a difference already right where they're at.
So the kids are already making a difference.
Little ones, the little teeny ones. You can see it, and it's just so great.
Yes.
The other ones will gather around them and just kind of follow their lead, and it's so sweet.
And joy is contagious. Hope is contagious.
It is.
And you can see it in their faces. They were so joyful to see us, to even be around us, and because joy is contagious.
Yeah.
And it sounds like that joy that's contagious, that's being planted in the children, you all through your programming and through the people that are surrounding the children are helping to plant that joy.
Yeah, the staff is so wonderful there and helping to do that. They're very dedicated. Yeah.
Absolutely beautiful. Absolutely beautiful. So tell us, if someone's watching, which I'm sure, someone is just wondering, how can they get more information about AnotherChild Foundation, and how can they get involved with helping to be part of the change?
We have a website, that's the best way, and that's www.anotherchild.org. And
you can also find us on Facebook for all those Facebook lovers.
Yes.
And we have information on mission trip opportunities and on child sponsorship opportunities on our website, and updates on what our ministry is doing. And our ministry is constantly doing new things, and you can find those on our website.
Okay.
Yes.
Now, if someone's watching, I know we were speaking just briefly, and you were saying before you got connected to ministry, you had dreamed about going on a mission trip and serving. What would you say if someone's watching and they're like, well, I've always wanted to do a mission trip, but they haven't had the opportunity? What would you say to them to encourage them to just follow their dream?
If you feel that call, do it. If you ask for that door to be opened, it'll be shown to you.
Yes.
And when it presents itself to you, take it and do it. You won't be sorry.
Yes. A lot of people think, well, I'm not going to do it because I don't have the money. There are a lot of people that don't have the money to do it, so they will help you, so you can go on their behalf.
Well, that's so encouraging.
Yeah.
Thank you so much, ladies, for sharing. We appreciate you, and blessings with the good work you're doing.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
And thank you for joining us on Joy in Our Town. We'll see you next time.
See these hands? They grip the wheel of a Humvee in Afghanistan.
These hands? 6 years treating soldiers.
12 years flying choppers.
We know you're strong, but sometimes you need a helping hand. You served us. Now let us serve you. The Iowa City VA Healthcare System.
Welcome to Joy in Our Town. I'm your host, Kit Evans Ford, and it's great to have you here with us today. Today we have a very special guest, Mr. Alvaro Macias, Community Development Manager at Ascentra Credit Union. Alvaro, welcome to the show.
Thank you for having me, Kit.
Oh, we're excited that you're here. So today we're talking about a very important topic, financial literacy, right? And so tell us about Ascentra and your duties as Community Development Manager.
Well, at Ascentra Credit Union, we are a not-for-profit financial cooperative. Basically, all credit unions follow that model. We don't have investors. We don't have shareholders. Basically, our members own the credit union. So as a member, you basically have a say in how this credit union will go about doing business. And in doing so, we have a board of directors who dictate this, and they're elected members. And we would basically, as a member, you're not going to do anything that puts the business in peril or the organization. So a lot of times the decisions that are made are done so that they could save the members money and also give bigger returns in the form of the savings products. So what I do is I educate people on the differences between banks and credit unions. And I also go to schools, organizations, and I talk about financial literacy projects and financial literacy education, and talk about creating spending plans and just a number of different topics that have to do with financial education.
Okay, all right, so financial education. Tell us more about spending plans.
So yes, I mentioned spending plans because we don't call it a budget. That's a bad word to some people.
Budget is a bad word.
Yes,
Okay.
Please go home and try it with your spouse. Let's talk about budgeting. They might not want to hear it.
Yeah.
But myself, with my wife, I told her one day, hey, let's create a spending plan for our vacation.
plan.
And she was all for it. It really is a different approach because you look at how much you're actually spending, not so much trying to put limits on it. When you tell people, when you talk about a budget, it's kind of like telling somebody, let's go on a diet. And nobody wants to do that. So
Instead of a healthy way of living.
Exactly,
Yeah?
exactly. So, but a spending plan, one of the things that I've done is I created a sheet that basically brings in all the income to the household. You see how much should be coming in, and then you basically put everything that you spend money on, and you're very honest as far as how much you spend, whether it's clothes, so on and so forth. And then that will tell you how much money you should have at the end of the month. Now, a lot of times you can ask somebody, hey, how much do you make, a month? And they can tell you that answer. But if you ask them, hey, how much do you spend in 1 month? That's a lot harder to find out. So doing a spending plan, you figure out how much money you should have, and that's where people realize, oh, you know what, I am spending a lot more on eating out. I am spending a lot more on maybe just random spending, clothes, whatnot. But that's what a spending plan will do. It will show you where your money is going and how much you should realistically have.
Okay, so it shows you, it makes you aware, because sometimes we're not even conscious of where our money is going. It just goes, especially it's so easy with having the check cards, the debit cards, the credit cards, to just swipe and not think twice about it.
And not only that, now you can pay with your phone.
Oh, I didn't even think about that.
Yeah, so now you can use your phone and pay. So it really takes your mind away from actually using money that you worked for to pay for these things. It's so seamless that it's really easy to spend. And if you have kids, you know how easy it is to spend more because they're constantly asking, buy me this, buy me that, let's get ice cream. And you don't really, put that on your spending plan. But again, if you basically keep a tally of everything you spent in 1 month, you would see exactly where your money is going, and that can help you plan month to month.
Now, what are some of the most important financial behaviors as it relates to being able to spend wisely?
Well, one of the most important things is to actually live within your means or even below your means. You do have a lot of people that might want to keep up with the Joneses. They see the neighbor got a new car, they got a pool, whatnot, and they want to live that lifestyle, but with the money that they have coming in, you really can't sustain it. So what do? They access credit, which it can be fine if you can afford it, but people who sometimes access too much credit and are accessing credit to keep afloat and to have a lifestyle that they truly can't afford or they shouldn't, they're the ones that find themselves in financial hardships. And also spending a lot on interest charges because they might constantly be using credit and maybe even higher interest credit that costs you even more money. So living within your means is the key, or living below your means is the key.
Yeah, so living within your means, living below your means.
Even better.
But then also being cognizant of the reality of interest rates on credit cards and also these loans that people have to pay back.
Definitely. Interest, basically your credit score will dictate what your interest rate will be. So one individual might get a much lower interest rate on an auto loan as opposed to another individual who doesn't have great credit. So what dictates that credit score, that number, will be how quickly or how, if you get behind on payments on, let's say, loans, credit cards, that will hurt your credit score. But if you're good about, paying on time, if you don't take up too many lines of credit, credit cards, loans in a short amount of time, if you don't max those lines of credit out right away, right when you get them, you should be okay. As long as you have a clear idea of just little by little taking up only as much as you can actually afford and manage, you should be okay. But of course, everybody's situation is different.
Yeah. And I know one thing that I've recently discovered with working to move forward in financial healthy way of living is that if you do have a credit card or you do have loans, if you look at your statements, they actually give you recommendations on how much you should pay a month to pay off, your debt within a certain amount of time. So it seems like it's helpful when you actually read these statements because there's so many kind of underlying things that we may not even be aware of.
You're totally right. And just that little line there that says, if you pay your minimum payment, it'll take you 8 years to pay this amount, and the interest is this much. Just seeing that large number compared to the next line that says, if you pay, let's say, another $30 or $40 extra on top of this, you get done in 3 years, and this is your savings is $2,000, so on and so forth. That makes it very clear how much it will cost you to borrow this money and pay it back in the long term and pay the minimum. So that's a great thing that actually was something that was not there before, and there was legislation that came into play that forced credit card companies to put that kind of thing so that consumers would have a more transparency in what would happen if you only pay the minimum. And now people can tell right there. So that's actually something that I recommend parents to use and show their teens, if they're about to go to college or to graduate high school, if they're going to be in that age, or even if they're over 18 but are about to get a credit card, that's a great tool to show them just that little spot on the statement.
Absolutely. Now, what advice would you give someone who's trying to improve their financial lives?
Somebody who's trying to improve their financial lives really needs a financial partner. Okay. There are a lot of resources online. There are different options, whether you go to a bank, a credit union, but also they need to be aware of some fringe financial outfits out there, whether it's the payday lenders, whether it's the, those buy here, pay here car places. Sometimes they basically are overcharging on the interest because they might say, no credit, no problem, things of that sort. Those are the things that you have to look out for. While it sounds great, and they might help individuals who can't qualify for loans, there are a lot of people who do qualify and still use these fringe financial services. Just be aware that there's different options out there. Find a trusted financial partner. Of course, credit unions have a whole different philosophy. They aren't owned by stockholders or people, investors. They are owned by the people who are members of the credit union and use the actual products. So they are a great asset. In fact, Ascentra Credit Union is part of, basically part of Iowa. We have a league of credit unions, and we work together. And there was a study that found out that at Ascentra, at our place, each member probably saves an average of $339 a year just by doing, compared to the same products at a bank. So those are the things that you got to look at. And there's other financial institutions who can show you what that is. I think the average was about $179 for the state, but we came in pretty high there. So there's a lot of great information out there. Just be savvy, do your research, and find a trusted financial partner.
Okay, so on that note, with this trusted financial partner, I read a little bit about your financial education workshops. So tell us about financial education workshops, and how can someone find more information about those workshops?
Well, one of the things that I do is I partner with organizations and community organizations, whether it's Habitat for Humanity. We recently did a presentation on credit. These are individuals who are going through different classes so that they can get their home at a 0% interest. So we partnered with them, and we did what we do. But I've also gone to colleges and universities, and we can tailor the message to whether it's young people, where we focus on establishing credit. And all they need to do is just contact myself or contact the credit union to see if they do want some of these services. We do it because it is part of a credit union's duty to give back to the community, to be involved. And it also, it helps out. It helps the community. If there are more people here in this region that are financially savvy, are able to pay their bills on time, and have a solid foundation, well, they're going to be great members for us, not just us, but all the other financial institutions, and it's going to benefit everyone. So that's a good thing.
Yeah. So the emphasis isn't on the bank, it's on the community and how the community can benefit from your resources.
Definitely. We believe people over profits. That's the key thing. When we all
people over profits.
Yes. Yeah, that's the philosophy, and that really makes an impact when you are putting their best interests in mind before us.
All right. Now, how can people find out more information? What's your website? Who can they call? Please do share.
Well, they can go to ascentra.org, ASCENTRA.org. There, they can find out more about the organization. We also have some education tools there. We have calculators as well, so people can check out how much if they have a certain interest, how much their payment would be, or vice versa. If they can only spend, let's say, $200 on a car, well, how much can they afford? You know, can they get an $8,000 car or a $12,000 car? How many years would it mean that they would have to pay? So there are tools there, but there's also tools all over the internet. But as long as they find reputable organizations that and individuals that are putting this information out there, that's what matters. One individual that has been working with credit unions and who I've taken a lot of the material I use and I put into my own into use for myself is Adam Carroll. He's a financial author and educator, and recently he came out with a documentary. It's called Broke, Busted, and Disgusted, which talks
Busted and Disgusted.
Yes,
Okay.
which talks about the financial crisis that is happening to college students who come out with a ton of student debt, and basically what that means for them starting out their lives, but also just the communities they're in. So he's one that I follow on Twitter, and I get a lot of great information from, and he's from the state of Iowa. So
Okay.
yeah.
Wonderful. Well, what would you say to someone who may have tried to have a financially healthy life but kind of struggling still with finances? What would you say to encourage them to stick to it and try again?
Things change. Things change. All those hardships are temporary. In a way, if you can learn from the mistakes, whether it's you made those mistakes, a lot of times our parents maybe didn't know how to manage their finances, and so we just learned bad habits. Maybe they spent a lot, you know. And but there comes a point where you can access information and you can tell what are the correct financial habits. Just being aware, but doing a lot of, whether it's research. In fact, you don't even have to, you know, Google financial literacy. There's, if you like, if you're on Pinterest or if you're on Instagram, no matter if you're on Facebook, you can follow somebody who can talk about finances and give you some good tips. So whatever, or if you do read a lot, well, there's tons of books out there. The trick is putting those things into practice. That is the key.
Putting those things into practice.
Yes.
Yeah, well, I know they say as far as exercise and health, they say it takes 21 days to embrace a habit.
Yes.
So what do you recommend as far as the length of time that it actually takes someone to stay disciplined?
You know,
financially?
it could vary for individuals because things change. Let's say you might get a raise, so you might have more money. It really, what it comes down to is taking an assessment of where you're at, figuring out your goals. What is it that you want to do? Do you want to pay off debt? And then looking at what's the best option to go about it.
All right. Well, thank you so much for your time. We
Thank
appreciate you. And thank you for joining us on Join Our Town. We'll see you next time.
This program has been sponsored by the Trinity Broadcasting Network and made possible by your telethon dollars. Your continual support can keep Joy in Our Town brought to your home every day. So write Joy in Our Town, P.O. Box A, Santa Ana, California, 92711.